The security footage would later show the exact moment billionaire Ryan Carter's life changed forever. 11:47 p.m. on Christmas Eve, when his 6-year-old daughter stopped walking and pointed toward a dark alley where a woman in a torn dress was reaching into a dumpster for food. What the cameras couldn't capture was the desperation in that woman's eyes, or the notebook of goodbye letters hidden in her pocket, or the fact that she'd already decided this would be her last night alive. One question from a child, "Daddy, is she hungry?" stood between Ava Brooks and the end of everything. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And if it moves you, hit that like button. Now let me tell you how 3 broken people became a family. The cold bit through Ryan Carter's wool coat like it had a personal grudge. Michigan Avenue glittered with Christmas lights that reflected off 2 feet of snow, turning Chicago into something from a postcard nobody actually wanted to be inside. His daughter Chloe's mittened hand squeezed his fingers so tight his wedding ring, the one he still wore 2 years after Sarah died, pressed into his skin. "Daddy, can we see the big tree again?" Chloe's breath made clouds in the freezing air. "We've seen it twice already, sweetheart." "But it's so pretty." Ryan checked his watch. Nearly midnight. The nanny had the night off. Christmas Eve, he'd insisted, though Mrs. Palmer had protested that a 6-year-old shouldn't be out this late. But this was their tradition now, him and Chloe walking the empty streets after everyone else had gone home. After Sarah died, the penthouse had become unbearable during holidays. Too quiet. Too full of memories that played on repeat, whether he wanted them to or not. "5 more minutes," he said. Then hot chocolate at home. They turned down a side street, taking a shortcut Ryan had discovered months ago. The buildings here were older, the kind that Chicago kept around to remind itself it had history. No Christmas decorations, no tourists, just shadows and the sound of their boots crunching through snow. That's when Chloe stopped walking. "Daddy?" Her voice had gone small. Ryan followed her gaze toward an alley between 2 buildings. A single streetlight flickered above a collection of dumpsters, and beneath that weak yellow glow, a woman was bent over an open trash bin, her arms buried to the elbows. "Don't stare," Ryan said quietly, trying to guide Chloe past. But his daughter had inherited her mother's stubborn streak. She pulled her hand free and took 3 steps toward the alley. "Chloe? Is she looking for something?" The woman's head jerked up. Even from 20 feet away, Ryan could see her freeze, like an animal caught in headlights. She wore a cream-colored dress that might have been pretty once, before the stains and tears. An oversized gray hoodie hung over it, so full of holes it was barely doing its job. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the woman stepped back from the dumpster, and Ryan saw what she'd been holding, half a sandwich in a plastic bag, probably thrown away from one of the restaurants up the street. "I'm sorry," the woman said. Her voice was hoarse, like she hadn't used it in days. "I'm sorry, I'll go." "Wait," Chloe said. Ryan put his hand on his daughter's shoulder, but she shrugged it off and walked right up to the woman. "Are you hungry?" The woman stared at Chloe like she'd spoken a foreign language. Up close, Ryan could see she was younger than he'd thought, maybe 30. Her face was thin, cheekbones sharp beneath pale skin, but her eyes were clear, intelligent. There was something unsettling about those eyes, actually. They didn't match the rest of her. "Chloe, come here." His daughter ignored him. "My daddy says it's not polite to let people be hungry on Christmas." Ryan felt his chest tighten. He'd never said that. Sarah had. Sarah, who'd dragged him to soup kitchens every December, who'd made him stop and talk to every homeless person they passed, who'd actually believed, that kindness mattered more than efficiency. The woman's hands were shaking. Not from cold, Ryan realized. From something else. "I'm fine," she said. "Really? Thank you." She turned to leave, but Chloe grabbed her sleeve. "Please don't go. Daddy can get you real food, can't you, Daddy?" Ryan opened his mouth to say no. To explain that it was late, that they didn't know this woman, that Chicago had shelters for this sort of thing. But when he looked at the woman's face, at the way she was trying so hard not to cry, at the dignity she was clinging to even while holding trash, something in him cracked. "There's a diner 2 blocks up," he heard himself say. "It's open all night. Won't waltz." The North Star Diner smelled like coffee and bacon grease. Ryan hadn't been inside in years, but it looked exactly the same. Red vinyl booths, checkerboard floor, a jukebox in the corner that probably didn't work. At midnight on Christmas Eve, they were the only customers. The woman, she still hadn't given her name, sat across from Chloe in the booth, looking like she might bolt at any second. Ryan slid in next to his daughter and tried not to stare at the dirt under the woman's fingernails. "Order whatever you want," he said. She didn't open the menu. "I shouldn't be here." "But you are," Chloe said brightly. "So you have to eat something. That's the rule." Ryan had to smile at that. Chloe's rules are very important. The waitress came over, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, with a name tag that said Barb. She looked at their strange trio without any visible reaction, which made Ryan suspect she'd seen worse. "What can I get you folks?" Ryan ordered hot chocolate for Chloe and coffee for himself. The woman stared at the menu like it was written in code. "Miss?" Barb's pen was poised. The woman's hands twisted in her lap. "What's the cheapest thing?" Ryan felt something twist in his chest. "Price doesn't matter. Get what sounds good." "I can't—" "Pancakes," Chloe announced. "Get the pancakes. They're the best. And eggs, and bacon, and—" "Chloe." Ryan shot his daughter a look. "Let her choose." The woman's eyes were wet now. She blinked hard, trying to hide it. "Soup," she whispered. "Just soup is fine." Barb wrote it down without comment and disappeared. Chloe swung her legs under the table, her snow boots making soft thuds against the booth. "What's your name?" "Chloe," Ryan said. "Give her some space." "It's okay." The woman's voice was steadier now. "I'm Ava Brooks." "I'm Chloe Carter. This is my daddy, Ryan. He's a billionaire." "Chloe, it's true. Mrs. Palmer says you're the richest man in Chicago." Ryan felt his face heat up. "Mrs. Palmer talks too much." Ava's expression had gone carefully blank. "I should go." "No!" Chloe grabbed her hand across the table. "Your soup isn't here yet." I can't." Ava's voice cracked. "I don't belong here." "Yes, you do," Chloe said with the absolute certainty only a 6-year-old could manage. "Everyone belongs where there's food." Ryan studied Ava's face. She was fighting hard not to break down. He could see that. Pride was the only thing keeping her together. He recognized it because he'd seen it in the mirror every day for 2 years, the look of someone holding themselves together with tape and willpower. "My daughter's right," he said quietly. "You're here. You're hungry. Let us help." Ava looked at him then, really looked, and Ryan felt something shift in the air between them. Not attraction. Nothing that simple. Recognition, maybe. Like she saw the same broken thing in him that he saw in her. "Why?" she asked. "Because someone should." Barb returned with their drinks and a bowl of chicken noodle soup that was steaming hot. She set it in front of Ava along with a basket of crackers and left without a word. Ava stared at the soup like it might disappear. Then her hands reached for the spoon, and Ryan saw they were still shaking. She took one bite, then another. On the third bite, she started crying. Chloe's eyes went wide. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, baby." Ava wiped at her face with the back of her hand. "You did something right. Both of you. She laughed, but it came out broken. "I haven't eaten in 3 days." The words hung in the air. Ryan felt anger spike through him, not at Ava, but at whatever had led to this. A woman who spoke like she'd been educated, who carried herself with dignity even while digging through trash, hadn't eaten in 3 days in one of the richest cities in America. "When did you last have a real meal?" he asked. Ava thought about it. "I don't remember. A week? Maybe more." "Where are you staying?" Her laugh was bitter this time. "Wherever I can. Bus stations, store doorways if the security guards don't notice. There's an underpass near the river that's warmer than most places. But the other people there—" She trailed off, shaking her head. "Doesn't matter." "It does matter." Ryan heard the edge in his own voice and tried to soften it. "How did this happen?" Ava ate 3 more spoonfuls of soup before answering. When she did, her voice was so quiet he had to lean forward to hear. "My mom got sick 4 years ago. Cancer. Stage 4 by the time they caught it. I dropped out of grad school to take care of her. Spent everything I had on treatments that didn't work." She paused, staring into her soup. "She died 18 months ago." I'm sorry, Ryan said, and meant it. I couldn't afford the apartment anymore after she was gone. Lost my job. I'd missed too many shifts. My savings were already gone. I thought I could get back on my feet, you know. I'm educated. I have a degree. I thought... She laughed again, that broken sound. I was stupid. You're not stupid, Chloe said fiercely. Ava smiled at her, and for a second Ryan saw what she must have looked like before life broke her. Beautiful. Warm. What did you study? He asked. Literature. I wanted to be a writer. She said it like it was a shameful secret. I was going to write novels, stories that mattered. Instead, I ended up... She gestured at herself, at the torn dress and dirty hoodie. Here. Do you still write? Ava's hand went to her hoodie pocket, a protective gesture. Sometimes. When I can. Can I see? Ryan, she said, and it startled him to hear his name in her mouth. I appreciate the soup, really, but I'm not a charity case for you to fix. I don't need pity. Good, he said, because I'm not offering any. That made her blink. Then what are you offering? Ryan didn't have an answer. He didn't know what he was doing. This woman was a stranger. He should finish the soup, give her some cash, and go home. That's what a smart person would do. But Sarah's voice was in his head, clear as day. People deserve second chances, Ryan, especially when the world's already written them off. Do you have anywhere to go tonight? He asked. Ava's jaw tightened. I'll manage. That's not what I asked. I said I'll manage. It's Christmas Eve, Chloe said. You can't sleep outside on Christmas Eve. Santa won't find you. Ava's expression softened. I think Santa gave up on me a long time ago, sweetheart. No, he didn't, right, Daddy? Ryan looked at his daughter's hopeful face, then at Ava's exhausted one, and made a decision that would either be the smartest or stupidest thing he'd done in years. I have a guest suite, he said, in my apartment. It's not being used. Ava went very still. What? Just for tonight. You need somewhere safe to sleep. I have the space. It's not complicated. Yes, it is. Ava's voice was sharp now. I'm a homeless woman you found in an alley. You're a billionaire with a daughter. This is insane. Probably, Ryan admitted. But it's also midnight on Christmas Eve and freezing outside. So insane or not, I'm offering. They stared at each other across the table. Barb came by to refill coffee. Somewhere in the kitchen, something clattered. Why? Ava asked again. Ryan thought about Sarah, about the emptiness in his penthouse, about the way his daughter had stopped laughing after her mother died. He thought about all the charity events he attended, the checks he wrote to look good for investors, the way he'd turned helping people into a tax deduction instead of something real. Because my wife would have, he said finally. And because it's the right thing to do. Ava's hands were still shaking, but her eyes were clear. I can't pay you. I'm not asking you to. I don't do anything. For rent. It took Ryan a second to understand what she meant, and then he felt sick. Jesus Christ, no, that's not... No. I just needed to be clear. Crystal clear. This is just a room, that's all. Chloe, who'd been watching this exchange with wide eyes, suddenly grinned. So she's coming home with us? Ryan looked at Ava. If she wants to. For a long moment, Ava didn't answer. She stared down at her soup, at the crackers she hadn't touched, at her hands that wouldn't stop shaking. When she looked up, there were tears on her face again. Okay, she whispered, just for tonight. The Carter penthouse occupied the entire top floor of one of Chicago's newest luxury buildings. Ryan unlocked the door and stepped aside to let Ava enter first, watching her face as she took in the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the marble floors, the furniture that cost more than most people made in a year. She stopped just inside the entryway, and he saw her swallow hard. This is where you live? Yeah. Suddenly the place looked obscene to him. All this space for two people, all this money spent on things that didn't matter. Chloe ran ahead, her boots leaving wet prints on the marble. Come see my room. I have a princess bed. But Ava stayed frozen in the entryway, staring at everything like she'd stumbled into another universe. You okay? Ryan asked. I slept in a bus station last night. Her voice was flat. And now I'm standing in a penthouse that probably costs more than I'll make in my entire life. So no, I'm not really okay. He couldn't argue with that. Guest suite's this way. He led her down a hallway lined with abstract art that Sarah had picked out, and he'd never had the heart to take down. The guest suite was at the far end, a bedroom, bathroom, and small sitting area that no one had used since Sarah's mother visited 3 Christmases ago. Ryan opened the door and flicked on the lights. The room was pristine. Too pristine. It looked like a hotel room, all neutral colors and perfect surfaces. The kind of place no one actually lived. "Bathroom's through there," he said, pointing. "Towels are in the cabinet. I'll find you some clean clothes." Ava stood in the middle of the room, her arms wrapped around herself. "This is too much. It's just sitting here empty. Might as well be useful. I mean all of it. The soup, the room, the—" Her voice broke. "You don't even know me." "No," Ryan agreed. "But my 6-year-old seems to trust you, and she's usually a pretty good judge of character." That pulled a small smile from Ava. "She's wonderful. You're lucky." "I know." Ryan hesitated in the doorway. "Look, I know this is weird, but you look exhausted. Take a shower, get some sleep. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." "Ryan?" The way she said his name made him pause. "Why are you really doing this?" He thought about lying, about giving her the easy answer, but something about Ava made him want to tell the truth. "My wife died 2 years ago," he said. "Car accident. Since then, this place has felt like a tomb. Too big, too quiet, too full of everything we lost. Tonight, when Chloe talked to you, it's the most alive she's seemed in months. So maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe I need this as much as you do." Ava's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I'm sorry. About your wife." "Me too." They stood there for a moment, 2 broken people in an expensive hallway, both trying to figure out how they'd ended up here. "The clothes," Ryan said finally. "I'll go get them." He found Sarah's things in the back of his closet, still in the garment bags where he'd hidden them because he couldn't stand to look at them, but couldn't throw them away either. He pulled out a pair of sweatpants and a soft sweater, trying not to think about the last time Sarah had worn them. When he returned to the guest suite, he could hear the shower running. He left the clothes on the bed and knocked on the bathroom door. "I'm leaving some things for you to change into," he called. The water shut off. After a moment, Ava's voice came through the door. "Thank you." Ryan found Chloe in her bedroom, already in her pajamas, but nowhere near sleep. "Is Ava staying?" she asked. "Just for tonight." "But what about tomorrow?" "We'll see, sweetheart." Chloe frowned. "She doesn't have anywhere to go. You said so." "I said we'll see. Mommy would want us to help her." The words hit Ryan like a punch. "What makes you say that?" "Because Mommy helped everyone. Remember the man with the dog? And the lady who lived in her car? Mommy always said there's enough good to go around." Ryan sat on the edge of his daughter's bed, his chest tight. "You remember that?" "I remember lots of things." Chloe's voice went small. "Is that okay?" "Of course it's okay, baby. It's more than okay." He tucked her in, but she grabbed his hand before he could leave. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "I like Ava. She's sad like us, but in a different way." Ryan didn't know how to respond to that, so he just kissed his daughter's forehead and turned out the light. Iamag. Ava stood under the hot water until her skin turned pink, and the bathroom was thick with steam. She'd forgotten what hot water felt like, how good it felt, how much she'd taken it for granted when she had it. The soap smelled like lavender. The shampoo was some expensive brand she'd never heard of. She washed her hair 3 times, watching brown water swirl down the drain. Dirt, sweat. The grime of 6 months living on the street. When she finally stepped out and caught sight of herself in the mirror, she didn't recognize the woman staring back. Too thin. Cheekbones too sharp. Eyes too big in her face. But clean. Finally clean. The clothes Ryan had left were soft and expensive, the kind of things Ava used to see in magazines and dream about owning. They smelled faintly of perfume, floral, feminine. His wife's clothes, she realized, the dead woman's clothes. For a moment, Ava considered leaving them folded on the bed. But her own clothes were filthy, and she was so tired of being dirty. So she pulled them on, trying not to think about whose body had worn them last. They fit almost perfectly. She found Ryan in the living room, standing by the windows and looking out at the city. Christmas lights twinkled across the skyline, turning Chicago into something magical. "Hey," he said when he heard her. "Feel better? I forgot what clean felt like." Ava wrapped her arms around herself. "The clothes, they're your wife's?" "Yeah, I hope that's not too weird." "No, I just—" She paused. "What was she like?" Ryan was quiet for a long moment. "Persistent. She never let me get away with the easy answer. She saw the best in people even when they didn't deserve it." He smiled, but it looked painful. "She would have liked you." "You don't know that." "I do, actually. Sarah had a thing for people who'd been knocked down. She always said they were the ones worth knowing." Ava moved to stand beside him at the window. Up here, the world looked different, clean, ordered, nothing like the view from a bus station bench or a store doorway. "I tried to kill myself tonight," she said. The words came out flat, matter of fact. Ryan went very still beside her. "What?" Ava reached into the hoodie she was still holding, her hoodie, the one she'd worn for 3 months straight, and pulled out a small notebook. The cover was water-stained and worn, but the pages inside were covered in her handwriting. "I've been writing goodbye letters," she said, "to my mom, to my old professors, to the friends who stopped returning my calls." She opened the notebook to show him. "Tonight was supposed to be the last night. I was going to the river after I found some food. I'd already decided." Ryan's face had gone pale. "Ava." "But then your daughter asked if I was hungry." Ava's voice cracked. "Such a simple question, and I realized I couldn't remember the last time anyone had spoken to me like I was a person, like I mattered." She looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "You saved my life tonight, both of you, and you didn't even know it." Ryan didn't say anything. He just pulled her into a hug, and Ava broke. She cried for her mother, for her lost apartment, and her abandoned dreams, and the person she used to be. She cried for all the nights sleeping in the cold, for all the people who'd looked right through her, for the shame and the fear and the endless, crushing loneliness. And Ryan held her through it, this stranger who'd given her soup and a shower and a reason to wake up tomorrow. When she finally pulled back, her face was blotchy and her nose was running. "Sorry," she said. "I'm a mess. Join the club." Ryan's own eyes were wet. "Look, I know tonight's been insane, and I know you don't trust this, but I meant what I said. You can stay here, not just tonight, as long as you need." Ava shook her head. "I can't." "You can. I have the space. Chloe clearly adores you already, and honestly—" He laughed, but it sounded broken. "This place needs some life in it. It's been dead too long. You don't owe me anything. I know, but maybe you don't either. Maybe we just help each other, because we can." Ava looked around the penthouse, at the expensive furniture and the art and the perfect surfaces that felt like they belonged in a museum, not a home. Then she thought about the river, about the cold water and the final silence, about the notebook full of goodbyes. "Okay," she whispered, "just until I get back on my feet." "Deal." They stood there by the windows as the city glittered below, two broken people who'd stumbled into each other's lives on Christmas Eve. Neither of them knew it yet, but everything had just changed. Ava had come to the alley to disappear. Instead, she'd found a reason to stay visible. And Ryan, who'd spent 2 years sleepwalking through his life, felt something wake up inside him for the first time since Sarah died. Outside, snow continued to fall across Chicago, covering the city in white. And in the penthouse, for the first time in a long time, 3 people slept soundly. A billionaire who'd forgotten how to feel, a woman who'd planned to stop existing, and a little girl who'd asked the simplest question in the world, "Are you hungry?" and changed everything. Ava woke up confused. The ceiling was white and smooth, not water-stained plaster or open sky. The sheets smelled like fabric softener instead of must and sweat. For 3 disorienting seconds, she couldn't remember where she was. Then it came back. The alley. The soup. Ryan and Chloe. The penthouse. She sat up fast, her heart pounding. Morning light streamed through windows she'd forgotten to close the curtains on, and the city spread out below like something from a movie. The clock on the nightstand read 9:47 a.m. 9:47. She'd slept for 8 hours straight. Ava couldn't remember the last time that had happened. On the street, you never really slept. You dozed in 20-minute increments, always listening for footsteps, always ready to run. 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep felt like a luxury she'd stopped believing in. She found her torn dress and holy hoodie folded on the chair where she'd left them. They looked worse in daylight, truly terrible, the kind of clothes you saw in documentaries about poverty and thought that would never be me. But it had been her. It still was her, really. One night in a penthouse didn't change that. Ava pulled on Sarah's sweatpants and sweater again, then ventured out into the hallway. The apartment was quiet except for muffled voices coming from somewhere deeper inside. She followed the sound to a massive kitchen that looked like it belonged in a restaurant. Chloe sat at the island, swinging her legs and eating pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse. Ryan stood at the stove, spatula in hand, wearing jeans and a t-shirt instead of the expensive coat from last night. He looked younger this way, more real. "You're up," he said when he saw her. "Coffee?" "I don't want to be a bother." "That's not what I asked." Ava hesitated, then nodded. Ryan poured her a cup from a machine that probably cost more than her last month's rent. The coffee was perfect, rich and dark, and exactly the right temperature. "Ava!" Chloe's face lit up. "Daddy made Mickey pancakes. Do you want some?" "I shouldn't." "Yes, you should," Ryan said, already pouring more batter onto the griddle. "When's the last time you ate breakfast?" Ava had to think about it. "I don't know. Months?" Ryan's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything, just focused on making the pancakes perfectly round. Ava slid onto a stool across from Chloe, feeling like an imposter in this gleaming kitchen with its marble countertops and professional appliances. This wasn't her world. She was just visiting. "Did you sleep good?" Chloe asked. "I heard Daddy say you were really tired." "I slept great. Thank you for letting me stay." "You can stay forever if you want. Right, Daddy?" Ryan flipped a pancake. "Ava can stay as long as she needs, sweetheart, but that's her choice." "I can't stay forever," Ava said gently. "I need to figure out my life, find a job, get a place." "But you just got here." Chloe's face fell. "Don't you like us?" "I like you very much, but I can't just live in someone else's home." "Why not?" It was such a kid question, cutting right through all the complicated adult reasons to the simple truth underneath. "Why not, indeed?" "Because it wouldn't be fair," Ava said finally. "Your dad is being incredibly kind, but I need to stand on my own feet." Ryan set a plate of perfect Mickey Mouse pancakes in front of her. "What if we helped you do that?" "Ryan, just hear me out." He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. "You need to get back on your feet. That means paperwork, right? ID, social security card, birth certificate, all the stuff that proves you exist." Ava felt her cheeks burn. "I lost everything when I lost my apartment. It's humiliating, I know. I'm not trying to humiliate you. I'm saying I can help. I know people. I can make the process faster. I don't need charity." "It's not charity. It's just cutting through red tape." Ryan poured himself more coffee. "And you said you used to write, right? For work?" "Before everything fell apart, yeah. Articles, essays. I was working on a novel, but..." Ava shrugged. "Doesn't matter now." "Why not?" "Because novels require time and stability. And I have neither." "You have both right now," Ryan said. "You have a room, food, time to write. Why not use it?" Ava stared at him. "You can't be serious. Why not?" He was using his daughter's question now, and Ava realized they were both looking at her with the same expression, like the answer was obvious and she was the one making it complicated. "Because people don't just do this," she said. "Strangers don't invite homeless women into their homes and offer to rebuild their lives. That's not how the world works." "Maybe it should be," Chloe said through a mouthful of pancake. Ryan smiled at that. "She's got a point." Ava felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back hard. "I can't just take advantage of you." "You're not." "Look, I'm going to be honest with you." Ryan set down his coffee cup. "This place has been like a tomb since Sarah died. Chloe barely talks anymore except to me. I work 16-hour days because coming home is too depressing. We're both just existing, not living." "And you think I can fix that?" "No, but I think having someone else here might help us remember how to be human again." He met her eyes. "You're not the only one who is disappearing, Ava. We were too, just in a different way." The words hung in the air between them. Chloe continued eating her pancakes, oblivious to the weight of what her father had just admitted. "I don't know how to do this." Ava said quietly. Neither do I, Ryan admitted, but maybe we figure it out together. Ava looked at her coffee, at the pancakes, at this impossible kitchen in this impossible apartment, at the man and the little girl who'd saved her life without meaning to. Okay, she said, but I pay you back somehow, eventually. Deal. Ryan held out his hand and Ava shook it. His grip was warm and solid, the handshake of someone who meant what he said. Chloe clapped. Does this mean you're staying? For a little while, Ava said, until I figure things out. Yay! Chloe bounced in her seat. Can you read me stories again? The ones from last night were so good. Ava blinked. I read you stories? You don't remember? Ryan asked. I remember sitting by the Christmas tree, but everything after the shower is kind of blurry. I was so tired. You read her 3 chapters of some book you had memorized, Ryan said. Chloe didn't want you to stop. The one about the girl and the garden, Chloe said. With the robin and the secret door. The secret garden. Ava felt a lump form in her throat. My mom used to read that to me. Will you read more tonight? Chloe's eyes were hopeful. Ava nodded, not trusting her voice. They finished breakfast in comfortable silence. Ava tried not to think about how good the pancakes tasted, how warm the kitchen was, how normal this all felt. Normal was dangerous. Normal made you forget that this wasn't your life, that it could disappear as quickly as it had appeared. After breakfast, Ryan disappeared into his home office for a phone call. Chloe dragged Ava into the living room to show her the massive Christmas tree they'd decorated. We put the angel on top together, Chloe explained, pointing at a delicate glass figure at the peak. Mommy bought it before she died. Daddy cries every year when we take it out of the box. Ava's chest tightened. That must be really hard for him. Yeah. Chloe's voice got quiet. Sometimes I hear him crying at night in his room. He thinks I don't know, but I do. What do you do? Nothing. Mrs. Palmer says I should let him have his private time. Chloe looked up at Ava with eyes too old for her face. But I don't think people should cry alone, do you? Ava thought about all the nights she'd cried on bus benches and in doorways with strangers walking past like she didn't exist. No, she said. I don't think they should. Ryan emerged from his office an hour later looking frustrated. He found them in the living room, where Chloe was showing Ava her collection of stuffed animals and explaining each one's personality in elaborate detail. Everything okay? Ava asked. Work stuff. It's fine. He rubbed his face. Hey, Chloe, can you go play in your room for a minute? I need to talk to Ava. Chloe's face fell. Is she leaving? No, sweetheart. Just grown-up talk. After Chloe reluctantly left, Ryan sat down on the couch across from Ava. He looked tired, she realized. The kind of tired that didn't go away with sleep. I made some calls, he said, about getting your documents replaced. I have a lawyer who handles this kind of thing. He can expedite everything. Birth certificate, social security card, ID. Should take a few weeks instead of months. Ava felt her throat close up. Ryan, I can't afford a lawyer. You're not paying. I am. No, absolutely not. Ava, I already owe you too much. Food, clothes, a room. I can't add legal fees to that list. Ryan leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. What if I said this helps me too? How? Honestly, it feels so good to help someone and actually see the impact. I write checks to charities all the time. Millions of dollars. But it's all abstract. Numbers on a page, tax deductions, photo ops at fundraisers. This is real. You're real. He paused. Sarah always said the money didn't mean anything if we didn't use it to actually help people. But after she died, I stopped trying. It was easier to just write the checks and go back to work. Ava studied his face. He looked younger when he was being honest, less like a billionaire and more like just a guy trying to figure out how to live. What was she like? Ava asked. Really like, I mean. Not the sanitized version. Ryan smiled, but it was sad. Stubborn as hell. She once spent 3 hours arguing with a restaurant manager because he'd thrown away perfectly good food instead of donating it. Made him set up a program with a local shelter right there on the spot. He laughed. She was also terrible at cooking. Burned everything. We had to keep a fire extinguisher in the kitchen. She sounds wonderful. She was. And exhausting. And she would have dragged you into this house whether you wanted to come or not, because that's who she was. I wish I could have met her. She would have liked you, Ryan said again. The real you, not the one digging through dumpsters. What were you like, before everything fell apart? Ava had to think about it. The person she used to be felt like a stranger now. Ambitious, I guess. Maybe a little naive. I thought if I worked hard enough, everything would work out, that good things happen to good people. She laughed bitterly. Turns out that's not true. No, Ryan agreed. It's not. They sat in silence for a moment, two people who'd learned the same hard lesson in different ways. I called some editors I know too, Ryan said finally. Told them I had a writer friend looking for freelance work. A few of them are interested in meeting with you, if you want. Ava's hands were shaking again. You're moving too fast. Am I? Yes. I've been here less than 24 hours and you're rebuilding my entire life. It's too much. Okay. Ryan held up his hands. You're right. I'm sorry. I get like this. Sarah used to call it my fix-it mode. I see a problem and I want to solve it immediately. I'm not a problem to solve, Ryan. I know that, I do. But he trailed off, searching for words. After Sarah died, I felt so helpless. Couldn't save her, couldn't fix Chloe's grief, couldn't do anything except throw money at things. And now here you are, and maybe I can actually help, and I'm screwing it up by pushing too hard. Ava felt something shift in her chest. You're not screwing it up, you care too much, which is better than not caring at all. Sarah used to say that too. She sounds like she was smart. Smarter than me, that's for sure. Chloe came running back in before Ava could respond. Is the grown-up talk done? Can we play now? Ryan looked at Ava, and she nodded. Yes, sweetheart, grown-up talk is done. They spent the afternoon doing normal things, watching movies, playing board games, making lunch. Ava kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Ryan to reveal some hidden agenda, or for reality to crash back in. But it didn't happen. They just existed together, like a family. That evening, after Chloe was in bed, Ava found herself back in the living room with Ryan. He was nursing a glass of whiskey, staring out at the city lights. Can I ask you something? Ava said. Shoot. Why me? Specifically, there are thousands of homeless people in Chicago. Why did you pick me to help? Ryan was quiet for a long time. Honest answer? Please. I don't know. Maybe it was timing. Christmas Eve, Chloe asking that question, my mood. Maybe it was something in your eyes. You looked educated, intelligent, like you didn't belong where you were. He paused. Or maybe I'm lying to myself and the real reason is that helping you makes me feel less useless. You're not useless. Tell that to my daughter when she asks why Mommy had to die. The rawness in his voice made Ava's chest ache. You didn't kill Sarah. The accident did. I know that. Rationally, I know that. But there's this voice in my head that says if I'd just driven her that night instead of working late, if I'd been a better husband, if I'd done 1,000 things differently... Stop. Ava moved to sit beside him. You can't think like that. Trust me. I spent months replaying every decision I made, wondering if I could have saved my mom if I'd caught the cancer earlier, if I'd pushed harder for different treatments. That kind of thinking will destroy you. How did you stop? I haven't, but I'm trying. She paused. And honestly, being here helps, having something to focus on besides my own guilt and regret. They sat together in the quiet, watching the city sparkle below. After a while, Ryan spoke again. I have a confession to make. Okay. That call I made to my lawyer, I also called a therapist. Ava went still. For you? For both of us. Maybe Chloe too if you think she needs it, but definitely for you and me. He rushed on before she could object. I know it's overstepping again, but after what you told me last night about the suicide, you think I'm crazy. No, I think you've been through hell and you need help. Professional help. Not just a billionaire with a savior complex. Ava wanted to be angry, but she couldn't manage it, because he was right. I can't afford therapy, Ryan. That's what insurance is for, and before you argue, yes, I already added you to my company's health plan. You can yell at me later, but the appointments are set up. First one is Thursday. You added me to your health insurance. Yes, after knowing me for one day. Technically, it's been 2 days now. Ava didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You're insane. Probably. Sarah used to say that too. Ryan looked at her. Look, I know this is all moving fast. Too fast, you keep saying. But here's the thing. You were going to kill yourself yesterday. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed for any of us. So if I can help you now, while I have the chance, I'm going to do it. Even if it's too much. Even if I'm overstepping. Even if you hate me for it later. I don't hate you. Good. Then you'll go to therapy. Fine. But I'm keeping a list of everything I owe you. Deal. They shook on it again, and Ava realized she was smiling. Actually smiling. When was the last time that had happened? The next few days fell into a strange routine. Mornings with Chloe, breakfast, games, stories. Afternoons when Ryan worked from home and Ava slowly started writing again, pulling out her old notebooks and trying to remember what it felt like to create something. Evenings together as an improvised family. Mrs. Palmer, the nanny, returned from her Christmas break on December 27th and nearly had a heart attack when she found a strange woman making coffee in the kitchen. "Who on earth are you?" she demanded, one hand on her considerable chest. "This is Ava," Ryan said, appearing from his office. "She's staying with us for a while." Mrs. Palmer looked Ava up and down with the shrewd eyes of someone who'd seen everything. "Staying with you?" "Yes." "In what capacity?" "As a guest, Mrs. Palmer, a friend." The older woman's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "Mr. Carter, could I speak with you privately?" Ryan sighed, but followed her into his office. Ava could hear their raised voices through the door, Mrs. Palmer's scandalized tone, Ryan's patient explanations. When they emerged 20 minutes later, Mrs. Palmer looked grudgingly accepting and Ryan looked exhausted. "Welcome to the household, Ms. Brooks," Mrs. Palmer said stiffly. "I hope your stay is pleasant." After she left to pick up Chloe from a play date, Ava turned to Ryan. "She thinks we're sleeping together." "Yep." "You should have corrected her." "I tried. She didn't believe me." "Great. So now your nanny thinks you're having an affair with a homeless woman." "Former homeless woman," Ryan corrected. "And honestly, I don't care what Mrs. Palmer thinks. As long as she's good to Chloe, she can think whatever she wants about us." The word us hung in the air between them. There was an us now. Somehow, without meaning to, they'd become a unit. On New Year's Eve, Ryan's lawyer delivered Ava's replacement documents in a thick manila envelope. Birth certificate, social security card, temporary ID. The pieces of paper that proved she existed. Ava stared at them, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't think I'd ever get these back." "You're official now," Ryan said. "Legally a person again." "Thank you." The words felt inadequate. "For everything." "Stop thanking me. We're helping each other, remember?" That night, after Chloe fell asleep, they watched the ball drop on TV with glasses of champagne. When midnight struck, Ryan turned to her. "New year? New start?" "New start," Ava agreed. They clinked glasses, and Ava felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Hope. Fragile and tentative, but there. The next week, she had her first meeting with an editor Ryan knew, a woman named Patricia who ran a literary magazine called Midwest Voices. They met at a coffee shop downtown, and Ava wore clothes Ryan had bought her, carrying a portfolio of writing samples she'd pulled together from old files on a laptop Ryan had lent her. Patricia was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and efficient. She listened to Ava's pitch for an article about homelessness from the inside, then sat back and studied her. "Ryan spoke very highly of you." "He's being generous." "Ryan Carter doesn't do generous, he does strategic," Patricia smiled. "But your pitch is good, and your clips are excellent. When can you have 2,000 words for me?" "Are you serious?" "I don't joke about deadlines." 2 weeks? Perfect. I'll pay you $500. If it's as good as I think it'll be, we'll talk about more assignments." Ava floated out of that meeting like her feet weren't touching the ground. $500, an actual paying job, a byline again. When she got back to the penthouse, she found Ryan in the kitchen making dinner, spaghetti from the smell of it. "How'd it go?" he asked. "She bought the piece, wants 2,000 words in 2 weeks. Ryan's face broke into a genuine smile. "That's amazing, see? I knew you could do it. I haven't written it yet. You will. And it'll be brilliant." Ava leaned against the counter watching him cook. Why are you so sure? Because I read some of your old stuff, the pieces from your notebook. She went still. You went through my things? No. You left the notebook on the coffee table and it fell open. He looked sheepish. Okay, maybe I flipped through a few pages. But Ava, you're talented. Really talented. That's not me being nice, that's objective fact. You're biased. Maybe, but Patricia isn't, and she hired you. Chloe came running in then, saving Ava from having to respond. Is dinner ready? I'm starving. They ate together at the kitchen island, and Ava felt it again, that dangerous sense of normal, of belonging. She tried to remind herself this was temporary, that she couldn't get used to this, that she needed to rebuild her own life. But it was getting harder to remember that when every day felt more like home. That night, she started writing the article. The words came slowly at first, then faster, until she was typing furiously, pouring 6 months of pain and fear and humiliation onto the page. She wrote about the cold, about the hunger, about the way people looked through her like she wasn't there, about the shame of digging through trash and the terror of falling asleep in public places. She wrote until 3 a.m., until her hands cramped and her eyes burned. When she finally crawled into bed, she felt wrung out but alive in a way she hadn't in months. She was a writer again, not just surviving, creating. The therapy session started that Thursday. Dr. Reeves was a calm woman in her 40s who didn't flinch when Ava described the worst of it. The night she'd wanted to die, the letters she'd written, the plans she'd made. You're experiencing complex trauma, Dr. Reeves said. Grief from losing your mother. Trauma from losing your home and identity, depression from prolonged stress and isolation. This isn't something that heals overnight. How long does it take? As long as it takes. There's no timeline for healing. Ava left those sessions feeling scraped raw but somehow lighter, like naming the monsters made them less powerful. Ryan had his own appointments, and sometimes Ava would see him emerge from Dr. Reeves' office looking exhausted. They never talked about what they discussed, maintaining that boundary. But she could see the changes in small ways. He smiled more easily, snapped less at work calls, spent more time just sitting with Chloe instead of trying to fill every moment with activities. By mid-January, Ava had finished her article and sent it to Patricia. The response came back within hours. This is powerful. We're running it in February's issue. Keep them coming. More assignments followed, a piece about grief, one about rebuilding after loss, another about the invisibility of poverty in wealthy cities. The checks started coming in, small at first, then bigger. Ava opened a bank account and watched the balance grow. She was building something, a foundation. But even as her professional life came together, something else was shifting. The way Ryan looked at her sometimes when he thought she wasn't watching, the way her heart jumped when he smiled, the way Chloe had started calling her Ava in the same tone she used to use for mommy in old videos. They were becoming entangled, the three of them, and Ava didn't know if that was beautiful or terrifying. One February evening, after Chloe was asleep, Ava found Ryan on the balcony despite the cold. He was nursing a drink and staring at the city. You okay? She asked. Just thinking. About? He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, about how different this feels. What does? This, us, home. He turned to look at her. For 2 years, this apartment was just where I slept, where Chloe and I existed, but now it feels like a home, Ava finished softly. Yeah. They stood there in the cold, breath-making clouds between them, and Ava felt it crystallize, the thing she'd been trying not to acknowledge. She was falling for him, for both of them, for this makeshift family that had saved her life. And that terrified her more than anything. We should go inside, Ryan said finally, but neither of them moved. The city stretched out below, indifferent to their silence. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, not entirely from the cold. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. Do you ever feel guilty about being happy again? Ryan's jaw worked. Every single day. Yeah. Ava looked down at her hands. Me too. Sarah's been gone for 2 years. My therapist says I'm allowed to move forward, that it's healthy. He laughed, but it sounded hollow. Doesn't make it feel less like betrayal. My mom would have wanted me to rebuild my life, Ava said quietly. She spent her last breath telling me not to give up, but every time something good happens, I hear this voice saying I don't deserve it, that I should have saved her somehow. That's the grief talking, not reality. I know, doesn't make it quieter. Ryan turned to face her fully. For what it's worth, I think your mom would be proud of you. Look at what you've built in 2 months. The articles, the assignments, I built it because you gave me the foundation, Ava interrupted. Without you, I'd be... Don't. His voice was sharp. Don't diminish what you've done. I gave you a room and some phone numbers. You did everything else. Ava wanted to argue, but the look on his face stopped her. He meant it. Thank you, she said instead. Stop thanking me. Make me. The words hung between them, charged with something neither wanted to name. Ryan's eyes dropped to her mouth, then away quickly. We should really go inside, he said again. This time, they did. The next morning, Ava woke to Chloe jumping on her bed. Ava! Ava! It snowed again. Can we build a snowman? Chloe, it's 6 a.m. Ava pulled the pillow over her head. But the snow will melt if we wait. Snow in February doesn't melt that fast, sweetheart. Ryan appeared in the doorway, already dressed. Let Ava sleep. But Daddy, Chloe. His tone had that parental finality to it. Chloe's bottom lip trembled. You never want to do fun things anymore. Ryan flinched like she'd slapped him. That's not true. Yes, it is. You're always working or tired or sad. Ava's the only one who plays with me. That's not fair, Chloe. It is fair. Mommy used to play with me all the time, and now she's gone, and you won't, and... Chloe's words dissolved into tears. Ava sat up, her heart aching. Ryan stood frozen in the doorway, looking gutted. Hey, Ava said softly, pulling Chloe onto the bed. Your dad loves you so much. You know that, right? Then why won't he play with me? Chloe sobbed into Ava's shoulder. Ava looked at Ryan over Chloe's head. His eyes were wet. Because he's sad too, Ava said. Just like you're sad about your mom. And sometimes when people are sad, they forget how to play. But that doesn't mean they don't love you. I miss Mommy, Chloe whispered. I know, baby. I miss my mom too. Does it ever stop hurting? Ava's throat closed up. No, but it gets different, smaller. Like it's still there, but it doesn't take up all the space in your chest anymore. Chloe pulled back to look at her. Really? Really? Okay. Chloe wiped her nose on her sleeve. Can we still build a snowman? Absolutely. Go get dressed in warm clothes. After Chloe left, Ryan came and sat on the edge of Ava's bed. He looked wrecked. I'm failing her, he said. No, you're not. Did you hear what she said? I don't play with her anymore. What kind of father... Ryan, Ava grabbed his hand. You're doing your best. And your best is pretty good, considering you're raising a kid alone while running a company and dealing with your own grief. She's right, though. I have been distant. Then fix it. Starting today. Ryan looked at their hands, still clasped together. Come with us. To build the snowman. That's father-daughter time. I want you there. His eyes met hers. She wants you there. And honestly, I'm better when you're around. Ava knew she should pull her hand away, should maintain boundaries, should remember this was temporary, but she couldn't make herself do it. Okay, she said. Let me get dressed. They spent the morning in the small park near the building, building not one snowman, but 3. A whole snow family. Chloe directed the operation like a tiny general, very particular about the size of the coal eyes and the angle of the stick arms. This one is Mommy, she announced, patting the smallest snowman. And this one is Daddy, and this one is Ava. Ava's chest tightened. Chloe, what? You live with us. You're part of the family now. Ryan and Ava exchanged a look over Chloe's head. Neither of them knew what to say. Can we take a picture? Chloe asked. All of us together? Ryan pulled out his phone and they huddled around their snow family. Chloe in the middle, Ava and Ryan on either side. Ryan's arm went around Ava's shoulders to fit everyone in the frame. Say cheese! Cheese! Chloe shouted. The photo captured them all smiling, snow-dusted and happy, with the 3 snowmen behind them. When Ava saw it later, she thought they looked like a real family, and that scared her more than anything. That afternoon, while Chloe napped and Ryan took a work call, Ava sat at the kitchen table with her laptop and tried to focus on her latest article. But her mind kept drifting. She'd been here almost 2 months now. 2 months of living in this beautiful apartment, eating good food, sleeping in a comfortable bed. 2 months of slowly rebuilding everything she'd lost. Her checking account had almost $3,000 in it. She had assignments lined up through April. She had health insurance and a therapist and clean clothes. She had everything she needed to get her own place. The thought made her feel sick. "You okay?" Ryan's voice made her jump. "You look upset." "Just thinking." He poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter. "About?" "I should probably start looking for an apartment." The words sat between them like a bomb. Ryan's face went carefully blank. "If that's what you want." "It's not about wanting, it's about not overstaying my welcome." "You're not." "Ryan, it's been 2 months. I'm getting back on my feet. That was the plan, remember? I stay until I can stand on my own." "And you think you can now?" "I think I need to try." Ryan set down his coffee cup with more force than necessary. "Fine. If you want to leave, leave." "That's not—" "You're making this sound like I'm abandoning you." "Aren't you?" Ava stared at him. "That's not fair." "No, you're right. It's not." Ryan ran his hands through his hair. "I'm sorry. That was out of line." "Why are you angry?" "I'm not angry." "You're clearly angry." "I'm not—" He stopped, jaw clenched. "I don't want you to go. There. Happy?" "Ryan, Chloe's attached to you. She calls you when she has nightmares now instead of me. She asks your opinion on everything. She lights up when you walk into a room." His voice cracked. "And so do I." Ava felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "What are you saying?" "I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying." Ryan looked at her, and his eyes were desperate. "I just know that this apartment was dead before you got here, and now it's alive. We're alive. And the thought of going back to how it was before— I'm scared," Ava blurted out. Ryan stopped. "Of what?" "Of this. Of us. Of whatever this is becoming." The words tumbled out now, unstoppable. "I was homeless 2 months ago, Ryan. I was literally planning to kill myself. And now I'm living in a penthouse and falling for you and your daughter, and I don't know if this is real, or if I'm just grateful, or if I'm going to wake up one day and realize I've been fooling myself." "Falling for me?" Ryan's voice was soft. Ava's face burned. "Forget I said that." "No." He moved closer. "Say it again." "Ryan, Ava, I need to hear you say it again." She met his eyes and saw the same fear reflected back at her, the same desperate hope. "I'm falling for you," she whispered. "Both of you. And it terrifies me because I don't know if I'm capable of being what you need. I'm still broken, Ryan. I'm still figuring out how to be a person again. And you deserve someone whole, someone who—" Ryan kissed her. It wasn't smooth or perfect. He moved too fast and bumped her nose. Ava made a surprised sound against his mouth. But then she was kissing him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, and everything else fell away. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ryan rested his forehead against hers. "You're not broken," he said. "You're healing. There's a difference." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do, because I'm healing too, and part of that healing is you." "This is crazy." "Probably." Ryan pulled back to look at her. "Sarah's been gone for 2 years. You're the first person who's made me feel something besides empty. And I know the timing is weird and the circumstances are insane, but what? But maybe that's okay. Maybe we're allowed to be messy and complicated and figure it out as we go." Ava wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly it hurt. "What about Chloe?" she asked. "What about her? She's already attached to me. If this doesn't work out, if I leave, it'll break her heart." "Then don't leave." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because everything could fall apart," Ava wanted to say. Because she could wake up tomorrow and realize this was all a trauma response. That she'd latched onto her rescuer and mistaken gratitude for love. Because Ryan could realize she was too damaged, too complicated, too much work. But looking at his face, at the hope and fear, and something that looked a lot like love, she couldn't make herself say any of it. "I need time," she said instead. "To think. To be sure." "How much time?" "I don't know. Can we slow down?" Something flickered across Ryan's face. Disappointment, maybe, or hurt. But he nodded. Yeah, of course, whatever you need. He stepped back, and the space between them felt like miles. I should get back to work, he said. Ryan, oh, it's fine, Ava, really. Take your time. He left her alone in the kitchen, and Ava sat there feeling like she'd just made a terrible mistake. But she couldn't figure out what the right choice would have been. The next few days were awkward. They were polite to each other, careful, like they were walking on glass. Chloe noticed immediately. Why are you and Daddy being weird? She asked Ava one afternoon. We're not being weird. Yes, you are. You don't laugh at his jokes anymore, and he keeps looking at you when you're not looking. You're very observant, Ava said, deflecting. Mrs. Palmer says that means I'm smart. Are you and Daddy fighting? No, sweetheart, we're figuring some things out. Grown-up things? Yeah, grown-up things. Chloe studied her with those two old eyes. I don't want you to leave. Ava's heart cracked. I'm not leaving. Promise? It was the kind of promise you shouldn't make to a child unless you meant it absolutely. The kind that could break them if you failed. I promise, Ava heard herself say. Chloe threw her arms around Ava's waist, squeezing tight, and Ava realized she'd just made a commitment she wasn't sure she could keep. That night, unable to sleep, Ava found herself in the living room at 2 a.m. staring at the city. She heard footsteps behind her. Couldn't sleep either? Ryan asked. Apparently not. He sat down beside her on the couch, leaving careful space between them. They sat in silence for a while, both pretending to watch the lights. I talked to my therapist about you, Ryan said finally. About us. Whatever this is. And? She said I need to be honest about what I'm feeling instead of pushing it down. So here's honest. I'm falling in love with you, Ava. Maybe I already have. And I know it's fast and weird and complicated, but that doesn't make it less true. Ava's breath caught. Ryan, you don't have to say anything back. I'm not asking you to. I just needed to say it out loud. He turned to look at her. But I also want you to know that whatever you decide, whatever you need, I'm not going to pressure you. If you need to move out to figure out your feelings, okay. If you need to stay but keep things platonic, okay. If you want to take this slow and see where it goes, also okay. What if I don't know what I want? Then we figure it out together. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Not easy, but simple. Ryan reached over and took her hand. I care about you. You care about me. Everything else is just noise. Ava looked at their hands, intertwined on the couch between them. I'm scared of hurting you. Both of you. I'm scared too, but I'm more scared of not trying. What if this is just me being grateful? What if 6 months from now I realize I was confused and... What if you don't? Ryan interrupted gently. What if this is real and we waste it because we're too afraid to take the chance? Ava thought about Christmas Eve, about standing in that alley with a notebook full of goodbyes, about how close she'd come to ending everything, about how these two people had given her a reason to stay alive without even knowing it. I told Chloe I wouldn't leave, she said quietly. I heard. I shouldn't have promised that. Not when I'm so unsure about everything. But you did promise, which tells me something. What? That somewhere under all the fear and uncertainty, you already know what you want. You're just afraid to reach for it. Ava's eyes stung. When did you get so wise? Expensive therapy. Ryan's thumb traced circles on her hand. Take all the time you need, Ava. I'm not going anywhere. And neither are you, apparently, since you promised my daughter. That pulled a wet laugh from her. Trapped by a 6-year-old. She's very strategic. Gets it from me. They sat there in the dark, holding hands, not talking about the future or making plans, just being together in the quiet. Finally, Ava spoke. I want to try. Ryan went still. Try what? This. Us. Whatever it becomes. She squeezed his hand. I can't promise it'll work. I can't promise I won't freak out and self-sabotage. But I want to try. Yeah? Yeah. Ava turned to face him. I spent 6 months invisible. And then you saw me. You and Chloe. You made me visible again. I don't know if what I feel is love yet, but I know I want to find out. Ryan's smile was like sunrise. That's enough for me. Don't you want more? Don't you want... Ava. He cupped her face in his hands. I want you. However you come. Whatever you can give. That's what I want. This time when he kissed her, it was slow and careful and perfect. Ava let herself sink into it, let herself feel it without overthinking. When they pulled apart, she was crying. Happy tears? Ryan asked, wiping her cheeks. Scared tears, happy tears. I don't know tears. All valid. They ended up falling asleep on the couch, wrapped around each other, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. When Chloe found them in the morning, she screamed so loud they both jerked awake. Are you boyfriend and girlfriend now? She demanded, bouncing on her toes. Ryan looked at Ava. Are we? I guess we are, Ava said, unable to stop smiling despite her terror. Chloe launched herself onto the couch between them, a ball of pure joy. This is the best day ever. Can we have pancakes to celebrate? Pancakes for everyone, Ryan agreed. As they headed to the kitchen, Chloe chattering excitedly, Ryan's hand warm in hers, Ava felt something settle in her chest. Not certainty exactly, not perfect confidence, but something close to peace. She jumped off the cliff. Now she just had to trust she could fly. The next few weeks were a tentative dance of figuring out what they were to each other. Ryan was patient, never pushing, always giving Ava space to freak out and come back. And she did freak out, multiple times, once almost packing her bags at 3 a.m. before Ryan found her and talked her down. This is what trauma does, Dr. Reeves explained in their next session. It makes you want to run before you can be abandoned. It's a protective mechanism. It's exhausting, Ava said. Yes, but you're doing the hard work of staying anyway. That takes courage. The articles kept coming. Patricia at Midwest Voices started referring other editors to Ava. By March, she was making enough to afford her own place, though every time she looked at apartment listings, her stomach churned. You don't have to leave, John, Ryan said for the 100th time. I should contribute something. Rent, utilities. See, Ava, I own the building. There is no rent. And the utilities cost me less per month than you make on a single article. That's not the point. Then what is the point? She couldn't explain it. This need to prove she could stand on her own, to make sure she wasn't just another thing Ryan was taking care of. What if people think I'm using you? She said finally. Ryan laughed. People already think that. Mrs. Palmer tells everyone you're my mistress. My business partners think you're a gold digger. Random socialites I've never met have opinions about our relationship. That doesn't bother you? Why would it? I know the truth. You know the truth. Everyone else can think whatever they want. I don't want to be a scandal. Too late. You're my Christmas scandal. The homeless woman who bewitched the billionaire. Ryan pulled her close. Own it. You're insane. You keep saying that. In April, Midwest Voices published Ava's piece about homelessness on their cover. The response was overwhelming. Emails from readers, interview requests from other publications, even a literary agent reaching out about expanding it into a book. A book, Ava breathed, staring at the agent's email. You should do it, Ryan said. I can't write a whole book. Why not? Because Ava stopped. Because why not? She had the time, the space, the story. I'd have to write about you, about us, about that night. So write it. I don't mind. What if people judge you for helping me? What if they say, Ava? Ryan turned her chair so she faced him. Let them say whatever they want. You have a story worth telling. Tell it. She met with the agent the next week. Margaret Chen was sharp and no nonsense, exactly the kind of person Ava needed. I want the raw truth, Margaret said, not some sanitized inspiration story. I want the dirt and the fear and the ugly reality. Can you do that? Yes, Ava said, and meant it. Good. Proposal in 6 weeks. If it's as good as your article, we'll sell it in a day. Ava spent the next month writing like her life depended on it. She wrote about her mother's death, about losing everything, about the months on the street. She wrote about Christmas Eve, about Chloe's question, about Ryan's impossible kindness. She wrote about falling in love while learning to be human again. Ryan read the first draft and cried. It's perfect, he said. It's real. It's terrifying. Best things usually are. Margaret sold the book in a 3-house auction for 6 figures. Ava stared at the offer letter, unable to process the number. This is insane, she kept saying. This can't be real. It's real, Ryan said, grinning. You're officially a success. I'm officially a mess who got lucky. No, you're officially talented and hardworking, and you earned this. Chloe insisted they celebrate with ice cream sundaes, her solution to everything. They sat in the kitchen, drowning in whipped cream and sprinkles, and Ava felt it again, that dangerous sense of belonging. Can I ask you something? Chloe said through a mouthful of chocolate. Always, Ava replied. Are you going to marry my daddy? Ava choked on her ice cream. Ryan went red. Chloe, he said, that's not, we haven't, I'm just asking. Chloe looked between them innocently. All my friends' parents are married, except Emma, but her parents got divorced. Marriage is complicated, Ava managed. Why? Because, she looked helplessly at Ryan. Because people need to be together for a while first, Ryan said, to make sure they're a good fit. But you are a good fit. You laugh at each other's jokes and you hold hands and Ava makes you smile again. Out of the mouths of children, Ava thought, cutting right through all the adult complications to the simple truth. We'll see, sweetheart, Ryan said. But not for a while, okay? Okay. Chloe went back to her ice cream, satisfied with that answer. Later that night, after Chloe was asleep, Ryan found Ava on the balcony. Sorry about that, he said. The marriage question. It's fine. I didn't put her up to it, I swear. I know. Ava leaned against the railing. Do you think about it? Marriage? Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Sometimes. Not in a I need to lock this down way, more in a I could see a future here way. What kind of future? The messy, complicated, real kind, where we fight about stupid things and make up and keep choosing each other anyway. He moved to stand beside her. Where Chloe has siblings, maybe. Where you publish 10 more books. Where we figure out how to blend your broken parts with mine until we're something new. Ava's throat was tight. That sounds terrifying. Yeah, but also kind of beautiful. She turned to look at him, this man who'd found her in an alley, and decided she was worth saving, who'd given her shelter and space, and something that looked a lot like love. I'm not ready for that yet, she said honestly. For marriage or promises or forever. I know. But I'm not running away either. I know that too. How are you so patient? Ryan smiled. Because you're worth waiting for, and because I'm not going anywhere. They stood together in the Chicago wind, watching the city breathe below them. Ava thought about the notebook of goodbye letters she'd written, about the river that had almost been her ending, about how one question from a child had changed everything. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen. She was known. She was loved. And that was more than enough for now. Summer came to Chicago like an apology, washing away the gray winter in waves of heat and green. Ava had been living in the penthouse for 8 months now, and the number still surprised her every time she thought about it. 8 months since Christmas Eve. 8 months since she'd planned to disappear. The book was scheduled for release in October. The publisher had hired a publicist who kept using words like platform and brand that made Ava want to hide under the bed. There would be interviews, a book tour, appearances on morning shows. I can't do this, she told Ryan one morning in June, staring at the publicity schedule. I can't go on TV and talk about being homeless. Why not? Because it's humiliating. Because people will judge me. Because you're still ashamed, Ryan said gently. Ava's hands clenched around her coffee mug. Shouldn't I be? No. You survived something most people can't imagine. That's not shameful. That's strength. It doesn't feel strong. It feels like failure. Ryan moved behind her chair, his hands on her shoulders. What does Dr. Reeves say? That shame is a liar, and I need to stop listening to it. Ava leaned back against him. Easier said than done. Most things worth doing are. Chloe burst into the kitchen then, carrying her backpack and a handful of drawings. Ava, I made you something at art camp. The drawings were typical 7-year-old fare. Stick figures with triangle dresses and houses with square windows. But one made Ava's breath catch. 3 figures holding hands under a bright sun. Labels in crooked letters. Daddy, Chloe, Ava. That's us, Chloe explained unnecessarily. We're a family. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Ava's voice came out rough. Can we hang it on the fridge? Absolutely. After Chloe ran off to get ready for camp, Ryan studied the drawing. She's right, you know. About what? We are a family. However weird and unconventional, however it started. He turned to face her. You know that, right? Ava looked at the drawing, those three stick figures holding hands. Sometimes. Other times I still feel like I'm playing house. Like I'm going to wake up and this will all be gone. It's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. You can't promise that. Watch me. Ryan pulled her to her feet, wrapping his arms around her waist. I love you, Ava Brooks. I'm in love with you, and I'm not going to stop being in love with you just because you have a panic attack, or doubt yourself, or freak out about the book. It was the first time he'd said it so plainly. Not falling, not maybe, but present tense, definite. Ava felt tears prick her eyes. I love you too, she whispered. I think I have for a while. I was just too scared to say it. Say it again. I love you, Ryan Carter, you and your daughter, and this insane life we're building. He kissed her then, deep and slow, and Ava let herself feel it fully. No reservations, no pulling back, just love. Gross, Chloe's voice made them jump apart. You're kissing again. Get used to it, Ryan said, grinning. Can we go to camp now? We're going to be late. As Ryan grabbed his keys and Chloe's backpack, Ava stayed in the kitchen, staring at that drawing on the fridge. 3 stick figures holding hands. A family. The word didn't scare her quite as much anymore. In July, the first interview request came from a major morning show. Ava read the email 3 times, her hands shaking. They want me to tell my story, she told Ryan. The whole thing. From losing my mom to that night in the alley to now. Are you going to do it? I don't know. What if I cry on national TV? What if I say something stupid? What if people think I'm exploiting my own trauma for book sales? What if you help someone? Ryan countered. What if there's someone out there who's where you were, who sees your story and decides to hold on one more day? Ava thought about the notebook of goodbye letters still tucked in her desk drawer. She couldn't throw it away, but she couldn't read it either. Okay, she said finally. I'll do it. The interview was scheduled for August, a week before the book's release. Ava spent the intervening weeks alternating between terror and determination. Dr. Reeves helped her practice answering questions without breaking down. Ryan ran through mock interviews with her until she could tell her story without her voice shaking. What if they ask about us? Ava asked the night before the interview. About how we met. Tell the truth. That my daughter asked if you were hungry and changed both our lives. What if they make it sound like some savior narrative? Rich man rescues poor woman. Then you correct them. Tell them you rescued yourself. I just gave you the space to do it. The morning of the interview, Ava put on the dress Ryan had bought her. Navy blue, professional, expensive. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Clean, healthy, confident. Nothing like the person who'd been digging through a dumpster 8 months ago. You look beautiful, Ryan said from the doorway. I look terrified. That too. He came to stand behind her, meeting her eyes in the mirror. You've got this. What if I don't? Then you don't. And we go home and try again tomorrow. But I think you're going to be amazing. The studio was overwhelming. Bright lights, cameras, people with headsets rushing around. The host, Michelle Chen, was warm and professional, putting Ava at ease during the pre-interview. We're going to take this slow, Michelle said. If you need a break, just say so. This is your story. Tell it however feels right. When the cameras started rolling, Ava's heart hammered so hard she thought everyone could hear it. But then Michelle asked her first question, Tell me about Christmas Eve, and the words just came. She told them about her mother's death, about losing everything, about the months on the street. She told them about the cold and the hunger and the invisibility, about the notebook of goodbye letters, about planning to end it all. And then she told them about Chloe. This 6-year-old girl I'd never met looked at me like I was a person, Ava said, her voice steady now. Not a problem, not a charity case, just a person. She asked if I was hungry. Such a simple question, but it was the first time in months anyone had spoken to me with kindness. And her father? Michelle prompted gently. Ryan gave me shelter that night, but more than that, he gave me space to rebuild. He didn't try to fix me, he just believed I could fix myself. And eventually, I did. You're together now, correct? Ava smiled. Yes, though it took me a while to believe that was allowed, that I deserved happiness after everything that happened. What would you say to someone who's where you were, who's lost hope? Ava looked directly at the camera, thinking about the person she'd been 8 months ago, broken and desperate and so tired. Hold on, she said. I know that sounds simplistic. I know when you're in that place, holding on feels impossible. But hold on anyway. One more hour. One more day. Because you don't know what's around the corner. For me, it was a little girl with a simple question. For you, it might be something else. But you have to be here to find out what it is. Michelle's eyes were wet. So were several crew members. When they cut to commercial, Michelle reached over and squeezed Ava's hand. That was powerful, she said. Thank you for sharing it. Ava left the studio feeling wrung out but lighter somehow, like she'd carried something heavy for months and finally set it down. Ryan was waiting in the green room with Chloe, who threw herself at Ava the moment she appeared. You were on TV, Chloe shouted. We watched. You were so good. You think so? Everyone's going to want to read your book now, Ryan said, pulling her into a hug. You were incredible. I cried twice. It was perfect. You were perfect. Ava's phone started buzzing, texts from Patricia, from Margaret, from editors she'd worked with, all saying the same thing. The interview was trending online, people were moved, the book was going to be huge. I don't know how to process this, Ava said, staring at her phone. One step at a time, Ryan said, starting with lunch. I'm starving. They went to a diner, not the one from Christmas Eve, but similar. Red vinyl booths, checkerboard floors, coffee that tasted like it had been sitting too long. Chloe ordered pancakes, and Ava felt a surge of déjà vu so strong it made her dizzy. You okay? Ryan asked. Yeah, this feels full circle somehow. It kind of is. That night, after Chloe was asleep, Ava and Ryan sat on the balcony with wine and the city spread out below them. I've been thinking, Ryan said. Dangerous. He smiled. Smart ass. No, I've been thinking about that question Chloe asked. About marriage. Ava's heart jumped. Ryan, let me finish. I'm not proposing, not yet. But I want you to know I'm thinking about it. About a future where this is permanent. Where you're not just staying with us, but choosing us. Choosing this. I am choosing this, Ava said quietly. Every day, I choose this. I know, but there's choosing to stay and then there's choosing to build something that lasts. He turned to face her fully. I want to build something that lasts with you, Ava. A real life. A real family. Not just playing house, but actually doing it. What does that look like? I don't know. That's what we figure out together. He took her hand. But I know I want Chloe to have siblings if you want that. I know I want to wake up next to you for the next 50 years. I know I want to be old and gray with you, arguing about what to watch on TV and whose turn it is to take out the trash. Ava laughed through the tears streaming down her face. That's the most unromantic romantic speech I've ever heard. Yeah, well, I'm not good at this stuff. Sarah was the romantic one. I'm the practical one. I like practical. Good. Because practically speaking, I want you in my life permanently. And I'm hoping you want the same thing. Ava thought about the past 8 months. About learning to be human again, to trust again, to love again. About the little girl who'd asked if she was hungry, and the man who'd given her space to heal. About the family they'd accidentally built from broken pieces. I want that too, she said. The 50 years and the arguing and all of it, but I need to ask you something first. Anything. Are you sure? Really sure? Because I'm still a mess sometimes. I still wake up from nightmares. I still have days where I can barely get out of bed. Ava. Ryan cupped her face in his hands. I don't want a perfect version of you. I want you. All of you. The messy parts, and the scared parts, and the parts that are still healing. That's what love is. Not finding someone perfect, but finding someone whose broken pieces fit with yours. Where did you learn that? Expensive therapy, he said, and she laughed. I love you, she said. So much it scares me sometimes. Good. Being scared means it matters. They kissed as the city sparkled below, two people who'd found each other in the dark and decided to build something in the light. The book launched in October to reviews that made Ava cry. Critics called it brutally honest, unflinchingly real, a testament to human resilience. It debuted on the bestseller list and stayed there for 12 weeks. Ava did interviews, appeared on podcasts, spoke at universities. She talked about homelessness and mental health and the importance of seeing people. She talked about her mother, about grief, about learning to rebuild after losing everything. And she talked about Ryan and Chloe, about the family that had saved her without meaning to. In November, a foundation reached out. They wanted to work with her to create programs for homeless people pursuing creative careers, writing workshops, supplies, connections to publishers and galleries. "It's what you wanted to do," Ryan said when she showed him the proposal. "Help others the way you were helped." "It feels too big, too important." "That's how you know it's worth doing." Ava named it the Sarah Carter Foundation after the woman whose compassion had lived on through her husband. Ryan cried when she told him. "She would have loved this," he said. "She would have loved you. I wish I could have known her." "Me too, but I think she'd be happy knowing she made this possible, that her belief in second chances led to all of this." The foundation launched in December, exactly 1 year after that Christmas Eve. They held the event in the same neighborhood where Ryan had found Ava, in a community center that served the homeless population. Ava stood at the podium, looking at the crowd. Formerly homeless artists, current residents of shelters, social workers, donors. Ryan and Chloe sat in the front row, both beaming at her. "A year ago," Ava began, "I was standing in an alley a few blocks from here trying to decide if I wanted to keep living. I'd lost everything, my mother, my home, my sense of self. I felt invisible, like I didn't matter." She paused, gathering herself. "And then a little girl asked if I was hungry. Her father bought me soup. They gave me shelter and safety and time to heal. They gave me back my life." Her voice cracked. "But what they really gave me was visibility. They saw me when everyone else looked away. They reminded me I was human, that I mattered." Chloe was crying now. So was Ryan. So was half the room. "This foundation exists because someone took a chance on me, because someone believed I was worth saving even when I didn't believe it myself." Ava looked at Ryan. "And now we're going to pay that forward. We're going to see people. We're going to help them find their voices again. Because everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves to be visible." The applause was deafening. People stood, cheering, crying. Ava looked at Ryan and Chloe and felt something settle deep in her chest. This was it. This was what it had all been for. After the event, they walked back to that alley. Snow was falling again, just like it had been a year ago. The dumpster was still there, the streetlights still flickering. "I can't believe it's been a year," Ava said. "Best year of my life," Ryan said. "Well, second best. The year I married Sarah was pretty good. I can't compete with that." "You're not competing. You're writing a different chapter." He pulled her close. "A really good chapter." Chloe ran ahead, catching snowflakes on her tongue. She looked so happy, so different from the sad little girl Ava had first met. They'd all changed this year, all healed in different ways. "Do you ever think about what would have happened?" Ava asked quietly. "If you'd walked past that night? If Chloe hadn't seen me? Every day." Ryan's voice was rough. "And then I stopped because I can't handle thinking about a world where you're not in it. I would have done it, gone to the river. I'd made up my mind." "But you didn't, because of a 6-year-old with too much empathy and a father who was too tired to say no." He turned her to face him. "You're here, Ava. You're alive and thriving and helping people. That's what matters. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for this to fall apart. It's not going to. You can't know that." "No, but I can choose to believe it anyway." Ryan kissed her forehead. "And I can keep choosing you every single day until you believe it too." Chloe came running back, grabbing both their hands. "Can we go home now? I'm cold." "Yeah, baby," Ryan said. "Let's go home." As they walked away from the alley, Ava looked back one more time. A year ago, she'd been standing there with a notebook full of goodbyes, convinced she had nothing left to live for. Now she had everything: a career, a foundation, a family that loved her. She had a future. The snow kept falling, covering their footprints as they walked toward Michigan Avenue, toward the lights and the warmth and the life they'd built together from broken pieces. Ava thought about this girl she'd been and the woman she'd become, about all the days between despair and hope, between invisible and seen, about the simple question that had changed everything. "Are you hungry?" 3 words that had saved her life. 3 words that had led to love, to healing, to purpose. 3 words that proved sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could change the entire world. They reached the penthouse building and rode the elevator up together, Chloe chattering about hot chocolate and Christmas cookies. Ryan's hand stayed warm in Ava's, anchoring her to this moment, this reality, this life she'd almost thrown away. When they stepped into the apartment, Ava saw Chloe's drawing still hanging on the fridge. 3 stick figures holding hands. Daddy, Chloe, Ava. A family. She'd been invisible once, lost in the dark, counting down her last hours. But standing here now, with Ryan's arm around her waist and Chloe pulling her toward the kitchen, Ava realized something fundamental had shifted. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was home. Spring arrived late the following year, hesitant and cold, like it wasn't sure Chicago would welcome it. Ava stood in front of her closet, staring at the cream-colored dress hanging in the back. She'd had it professionally cleaned and restored months ago, but she'd never worn it since that night. Ryan found her there, lost in thought. "You okay?" he asked. "Just thinking." She touched the fabric. "About how far we've come." "We've come pretty far. Sometimes I still can't believe any of this is real, that I'm here, that we're—" She gestured between them, searching for the word. "Happy?" Ryan offered. "Yeah, happy." The word still felt foreign in her mouth sometimes, like she was borrowing it from someone else's life. Ryan wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Dr. Reeves says that's normal, that it takes time for your brain to catch up to your new reality." "How much time?" "However long it takes." Ava leaned back against him, watching the morning light filter through the windows. "Chloe asked me something yesterday." "What?" "If I was going to be her mom forever, or just for now." Ryan went still. "What did you tell her?" "That I wanted to be her mom forever, if that was okay with her." Ava's voice caught. She cried. "Happy crying," she said, and then she asked if that meant she could call me Mom instead of Ava. "And?" "I told her yes." Ryan turned her around to face him. His eyes were wet. "She called you Mom." "This morning." She said, "Good morning, Mom," and then ran to get dressed like it was the most natural thing in the world. Ava wiped at her own eyes. "I never thought I'd have kids. After everything with my mother, after losing everything, I just assumed that part of life had passed me by. And now you have a daughter who loves you." "Now I have a daughter who loves me," Ava repeated, testing the words. "How did that happen?" "One day at a time. One choice at a time." Ryan kissed her forehead. "Speaking of choices, I have something I want to ask you." "That sounds ominous." "It's not ominous, it's just—" He pulled back, suddenly nervous in a way Ava had never seen him. "Maybe we should sit down." They moved to the bed, and Ryan took both her hands in his. He was actually trembling. "Ryan, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right, actually. That's the problem." He laughed shakily. "I had a whole speech planned, and now I can't remember any of it." "Just say what you're thinking." "I'm thinking that 18 months ago I was sleepwalking through life, going through the motions but not really living. And then Chloe saw you in that alley, and everything changed." He squeezed her hands. "You changed everything, Ava. You brought life back into this apartment, into Chloe, into me. You made us a family again." "Ryan, let me finish. I know we talked about this, about the future, about building something permanent. And I know you're still scared sometimes. Hell, I'm scared sometimes. But I also know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to make this official. I want—" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I want you to marry me." Ava stared at the box like it might explode. "Is that—" "It's a ring. Well, hopefully it's a ring. I haven't actually opened it yet because I've been carrying it around for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment." Ryan laughed nervously. "And now I'm rambling. That's what you do to me." "You want to marry me," Ava said slowly. "Yes, very much yes. Even though I'm still a mess sometimes. Even though I wake up with nightmares and have panic attacks about stupid things, and even though all of that. Because of all of that." Ryan opened the box. Inside was a simple platinum band with 3 small diamonds. It's not as fancy as some of the ones in the store, but the jeweler said 3 stones represent the past, present, and future. And I thought that made sense for us. Our past brought us together. Our present is pretty good. And our future could be amazing, Ava finished, tears streaming down her face. "So is that a yes?" "Are you sure? Really, truly sure?" Because once we do this, I'm not going anywhere. You'll be stuck with me forever. That's literally what I'm asking for. Ava laughed through her tears. You're an idiot. Is that a yes? Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. She threw her arms around his neck. Yes, yes, yes. Ryan kissed her hard, the ring box still clutched in his hand. When they broke apart, he tried to put the ring on, but his hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. Here. Ava took it from him, sliding it onto her own finger. Perfect fit. I guessed your size. I was terrified I'd get it wrong. You didn't get it wrong. She looked at the ring, at how it caught the light. Nothing about this is wrong. They sat there on the bed, holding each other, both crying, both laughing. Chloe's voice came from the hallway. Are you guys fighting? Why is everyone crying? We're not fighting, sweetheart, Ryan called. Come here. Chloe appeared in the doorway, suspicious. Then why do you look sad? We're happy, Ava said. Sometimes people cry when they're happy. That's weird. Very weird, Ryan agreed. But we have some news. Ava and I are getting married. Chloe's eyes went wide. Really? For real married? For real married, Ava confirmed. So you'll be my mom forever and ever. Forever and ever. Chloe screamed so loud the neighbors probably heard. She launched herself at them, and they all ended up in a heap on the bed, laughing and crying and holding each other. Can I be the flower girl? Chloe demanded. Obviously, Ryan said. Who else would it be? And can I help pick your dress, Mom? Mom. The words still made Ava's chest tight, but in a good way now. In the best way. I wouldn't dream of picking a dress without you, Ava said. They spent the rest of the morning celebrating. Fancy breakfast, impromptu dance party in the living room, calling everyone they knew to share the news. Margaret the agent cried. Patricia from Midwest Voices demanded an exclusive article about the engagement. Mrs. Palmer said she'd known all along this was coming, and she'd already picked out her outfit for the wedding. That woman is terrifying, Ava said after hanging up. She grows on you, Ryan said. Like mold? Exactly like mold. That afternoon, while Chloe was at a playdate, Ryan and Ava found themselves back on the balcony. It had become their place for serious conversations, for planning the future, for making sense of the past. I want to do something, Ava said. Before the wedding. What? I want to go back to the alley, just us. And I want to leave something there. Like what? Ava thought about the notebook of goodbye letters still in her desk drawer. A message. For whoever comes after me. So they know someone sees them. Ryan studied her face. That's a beautiful idea. Will you come with me? I'll always come with you. They went that evening as the sun was setting and the city was shifting between day and night. The alley looked different in spring, less menacing, more mundane. Just a space between buildings where the city kept its trash. Ava pulled out a small card she'd written earlier. Simple words. You are seen. You matter. Hold on. There's a number for a crisis hotline and the address of the Sarah Carter Foundation. Where should I put it? She asked. Ryan pointed to a spot on the wall near the streetlight, visible but not obvious. There. Ava taped the card to the brick, her hand steady. It might blow away in the wind, someone might tear it down. But maybe, just maybe, someone who needed it would find it first. I hope it helps someone, she said. It will, even if it's just one person. They stood there for a moment, in the place where everything had changed, where a desperate woman and a tired father and a compassionate child had collided and created something new. Do you ever regret it? Ava asked. Taking me in that night? Not even for a second. Even when I was difficult? Even when I had panic attacks and pushed you away, and especially then. Ryan pulled her close. Because those were the moments you let me see the real you. Not the grateful charity case you thought you had to be, but the actual person underneath. Messy and complicated and real. I'm still messy and complicated. Good. Perfect is boring. Ava laughed, resting her head on his shoulder. I love you. You know that. I know. You're stuck with me now. Forever and ever, apparently. Forever and ever. The wedding planning consumed the next few months in the best possible way. Chloe insisted on being involved in every decision. Flowers, music, food, decorations. She had opinions about everything and wasn't shy about sharing them. Not those flowers, Mom, she'd say, pointing at the samples the wedding planner brought. Those ones are boring. We need the bright ones. Whatever you say, boss, Ava would reply, and Ryan would grin at how naturally the word mom fell from Chloe's lips now. They decided on a small ceremony in September, just family and close friends. Ava didn't have much family left, a few distant cousins she hadn't spoken to in years. But the foundation staff had become family, and the people whose lives she'd touched through her writing, and even Mrs. Palmer, who cried when Ava asked if she'd come. "Of course I'll come," Mrs. Palmer said, dabbing at her eyes. "Someone needs to make sure everything runs smoothly. You creative types always forget the practical details." The book had led to a second book deal and then a third. Ava was working on a novel now, fiction, but loosely based on her experiences. It was harder than journalism, more exposing somehow. But she was learning to trust her voice, to believe she had something worth saying. In August, the foundation hosted its first graduation ceremony. 5 people who'd completed their programs. 3 writers, 1 photographer, 1 painter. All formerly homeless. All now published or exhibited or working. Ava stood at the podium, looking at their faces, and felt overwhelmed by what they'd built. "A year and a half ago," she said, "this was just an idea, a hope that we could help people the way I was helped. And now here we are, celebrating 5 graduates who've proven that circumstances don't define you. That everyone deserves a chance to create, to be seen, to matter." One of the graduates, a woman named Keisha who'd written a searing memoir about addiction and recovery, stood up. "Can I say something?" she asked. "Of course." "You saved my life," Keisha said simply. "When I came to that first writing workshop, I was 3 days clean and convinced I'd never amount to anything. You looked at my writing and told me it was good. Not good for a homeless person. Not good considering my circumstances. Just good. Period." Her voice cracked. No one had said that to me in 10 years. That I was good at something. That I had value beyond my mistakes. Ava's vision blurred. "You did the work, Keisha. I just gave you the space." "No. You gave me back my voice, and now I get to use it." The applause was thunderous. Ryan and Chloe stood in the back, both crying, both proud. After the ceremony, Keisha pulled Ava aside. "I heard about your story," she said. "About Christmas Eve. About the alley. It's not a secret. I was there too. Different alley, different city, but the same desperation, the same plan to end it." Keisha gripped Ava's hands. "If you'd gone through with it that night, this foundation wouldn't exist. My book wouldn't exist. I might not exist. So thank you for staying. Thank you for holding on." Ava couldn't speak. She just held Keisha while they both cried, 2 women who'd survived when everything said they shouldn't. Ryan found her later, still shaky from the conversation. "That was intense," he said. "She was planning to kill herself, just like I was. But she didn't, you didn't, and now you're both here, helping others." "It's not enough," Ava said. "There are thousands of people out there who need help, who are where we were. How do we reach them all?" "We don't. We can't." Ryan turned her to face him. "But we reach who we can. We do what's in front of us, and we trust that it ripples out somehow." "When did you get so wise?" "Very expensive therapy." The week before the wedding, Ava had a nightmare. She was back in the alley, digging through the dumpster, and this time when she looked up, no one was there. No Chloe, no Ryan, just empty streets and cold wind and the certainty that she'd dreamed everything, that she'd died that night, and this whole beautiful life was just her brain's last desperate fantasy. She woke up gasping, Ryan's arms already around her. "You're here," he said. "You're safe. It was just a dream." It felt so real, like I was back there and none of this existed. "But it does exist. I exist. Chloe exists. We're real." He pressed her hand to his chest, over his heart. "Feel that? I'm real." Ava focused on his heartbeat, steady and strong. "I'm sorry. I thought I was past this. Trauma doesn't work on a schedule. You're allowed to still be scared sometimes. What if I have a panic attack during the wedding? What if I—" Then we pause. We take a break. We deal with it together. Ryan kissed her forehead. "There's no right way to do this, Ava. We just keep showing up, keep choosing each other, keep building this life one day at a time." "One day at a time," Ava repeated. "That's all we've got anyway." She fell back asleep in his arms, and this time she dreamed of the wedding, of Chloe throwing flower petals, and Mrs. Palmer bossing everyone around, and Ryan's face when she walked down the aisle. It was a good dream, a real dream. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright, one of those perfect September days that Chicago occasionally gifted its residents. Ava woke early, too excited and nervous to sleep. Chloe was already awake, bouncing on her bed. "It's wedding day!" she shrieked. "Mom, get up! We have so much to do!" "What time is it?" 6 a.m. "Chloe, the wedding isn't until 3. But we have to get ready. Hair and makeup and dresses and—" Okay. Ava laughed, letting Chloe pull her out of bed. "Let's go make breakfast." Ryan was already in the kitchen, making pancakes shaped like hearts. "Couldn't sleep either?" Ava asked. "Nope, too excited." He kissed her. "Hi, future wife." "Hi, future husband." "Gross," Chloe announced. "Stop being mushy. I'm starving." They spent the morning together, just the three of them, soaking in the last hours before everything changed. Not changed in a bad way, changed in a "we're making this official" way, changed in a "now everyone knows we're a family" way. At noon, a team of people descended on the apartment: hairstylist, makeup artist, photographer. Ava was whisked away to get ready while Ryan took Chloe to get her flower girl dress on. Standing in front of the mirror in her wedding dress, simple white silk, nothing fancy, but perfect, Ava barely recognized herself. Not because she looked different, but because she looked happy. Truly, deeply happy. "You look beautiful," the makeup artist said. "I feel beautiful." And she did. Not pretty, or acceptable, or good enough. Beautiful. Worthy. Seen. Chloe appeared in the doorway wearing a pale pink dress and a flower crown. "Mom, you look like a princess." "So do you, baby." "Is it time yet?" "Almost. Are you nervous?" "A little. What if I trip?" "Then you get up and keep going. That's what we do." Chloe thought about that. "Like you did? After you lost everything?" Ava knelt down, not caring if she wrinkled her dress. "Exactly like that. You fall down, you get up. You keep going. You keep choosing to be here." "I'll always choose to be here," Chloe said seriously. "With you and Daddy. Forever." "Forever," Ava echoed, hugging her daughter, close. The ceremony was in a garden overlooking the lake, small and intimate and perfect. Ava stood at the back, holding a simple bouquet, watching Ryan at the altar. He looked nervous and happy, and so handsome her chest ached. Chloe went first, throwing flower petals with wild enthusiasm, making everyone laugh. Then the music changed, and it was Ava's turn. She walked down the aisle alone. No father to give her away, no family to represent her past. Just her, walking toward her future, toward the man and the child who'd saved her life without meaning to. Ryan's eyes were wet when she reached him. "Hi," he whispered. "Hi. You look incredible." "So do you." The officiant began speaking, but Ava barely heard the words. She was too focused on Ryan's face, on the way he was looking at her like she was the most important person in the world, like she mattered, like she was visible. When it was time for vows, Ryan spoke first. "Ava, 18 months ago my daughter asked a stranger if she was hungry. I thought we were just buying soup. I thought I was just being kind." His voice shook. "But you changed everything. You brought life back into our home. You became Chloe's mom and my partner and my best friend. You taught me that healing isn't linear, that love can be messy, and that sometimes the best things come from the worst moments." He squeezed her hands. "I promise to see you, always, to hold space for your hard days and celebrate your good days, to be your partner in building this beautiful, complicated, real life. I love you, Ava Brooks. Thank you for staying." Ava was crying too hard to speak for a moment. She took a shaky breath and found her voice. "Ryan, I came to that alley planning to disappear. I'd written goodbye letters. I'd made my peace with ending." Her voice broke. "And then your daughter asked me the simplest question in the world. Are you hungry?" 3 words that changed everything. You gave me shelter and safety and space to heal. You never tried to fix me. You just believed I could fix myself. And eventually, I did. She looked at Chloe, then back at Ryan. "You gave me a family when I thought I'd never have one. You gave me a future when I'd stopped believing in tomorrow. I promise to keep choosing you every single day, to keep showing up even on the hard days, to be Chloe's mom and your wife and your partner in everything. I love you, both of you, forever. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. Even Mrs. Palmer was sobbing into a handkerchief. By the power vested in me, the officiant said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Ryan pulled Ava close and kissed her like they weren't surrounded by people, like it was just the two of them in that moment. The crowd erupted in applause. Chloe jumped up and down, squealing with joy. We're married, she shouted. We're really, actually married. The reception was perfect in its imperfection. The cake leaned slightly to one side. The DJ played the wrong song for the first dance. Someone knocked over a champagne tower. But it didn't matter. Everyone was laughing and crying and celebrating. Ava danced with Ryan, with Chloe, with Keisha from the foundation, even with Mrs. Palmer, who surprised everyone by having excellent rhythm. She felt light, untethered from the weight she'd carried for so long. As the sun set and the lights came on, Ryan found her standing by the lake, watching the water shimmer. Hey, Mrs. Carter, he said, that's going to take some getting used to. We have the rest of our lives to get used to it. He wrapped his arms around her waist. Happy? Terrifyingly happy. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise that whatever does go wrong, we'll handle it together. Ava leaned back against him, watching the last light fade from the sky. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. For asking what I needed instead of assuming. For giving me space to heal on my own timeline. She turned to face him. For loving me even when I couldn't love myself. Always. Ryan kissed her softly. Come on. Our daughter wants to toast us with sparkling cider. They walked back to the reception hand in hand, husband and wife, ready for whatever came next. That night, after the party ended and Chloe finally crashed from excitement and exhaustion, Ryan and Ava stood on their balcony one more time. The city sparkled below, exactly the same as it had been 18 months ago, and completely different all at once. I've been thinking, Ava said. Dangerous. She smiled. I want to expand the foundation, maybe create a national network, so people in other cities have the same resources. That's a big undertaking. I know, but Keisha's right. If I died that night, none of this would exist. I have to use this second chance to help as many people as possible. Then we'll do it. Ryan said it like it was simple. Whatever you need. What about you? What do you want? He thought about it. More time with you and Chloe. Maybe another kid, if you want that. Maybe to slow down at work and focus on what actually matters. What actually matters? This, he gestured between them. Us. Family. The life we're building. The rest is just noise. Ava thought about the woman she'd been, broken, desperate, invisible. And the woman she'd become, published author, foundation director, wife, mother. Neither version was better or worse. They were both her, both necessary. Can I tell you something? She said. Always. I'm grateful it happened. The homelessness, the loss, all of it. Because if it hadn't, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. That's a healthy way to look at trauma. My therapist would be proud, Ava laughed. But I mean it. I wouldn't trade this life for anything, not even to undo the pain. That's growth, Ryan said softly. That's healing. They stood together as the city breathed below them, two people who'd found each other in the dark and built something in the light. Ava thought about all the people out there who were where she'd been, cold, scared, planning their endings. She couldn't save them all, but she could try to reach them. She could leave messages in alleys and create programs and tell her story until someone heard it and decided to hold on one more day. That was enough. It had to be enough. Come to bed, Ryan said. It's been a long day. The best day. The first of many. As they walked inside, Ava looked back at the city one more time. Somewhere out there, someone was standing in an alley, trying to decide if tomorrow was worth seeing. Somewhere out there, a child would ask a simple question. Somewhere out there, a stranger would choose kindness when it would have been easier to walk away. The story would repeat itself, in different cities with different people, in infinite variations. But the core would remain the same. Someone would be seen. Someone would be saved. Someone would learn that the worst moment of their life could secretly be the beginning of everything. Ava had learned that lesson in the hardest way possible. Now she got to spend the rest of her life teaching it to others. She wasn't the woman in the alley anymore. She wasn't invisible or broken or forgotten. She was Ava Carter, wife, mother, author, survivor. She was seen, she was loved, she was home, and that made all the difference.